Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. It's Thursday, February 10th, 2022. Let's check out the docket. First, Barry Morphew is back in court, first time since the court granted his change of venue, and it seems like, well, Barry's winning. Next, are police close to solving the Delphi murders? Well, somebody in charge seems to think so. What do you do with a guy like this? We'll talk about that. Some more news from New York City, and it's always good, right? Please meet Joshua Langford, a guy you would not want your daughter to be dating. A couple contestants for Parents of the Year, and then finally, our Dumb Criminal of the Day. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Crime Talk. My name is Scott Reich. Thanks for watching. Please, if you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button. Hit that little bell. Why you say hit the little bell? Because sometimes they take you off, and I think really they're kind of banning us, like shadow banning, I think is the term that they use. So hit that little bell again. Make sure you're getting notifications. And then, as always, leave me a comment about what we discuss here today. And always remember and never forget, learn it, know it, live it. If you want to listen to Crime Talk anytime you want, you can download us on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Just simply type in Crime Talk with Scott Reich, and there you go. And you can get all of the episodes that we have put up over the years. And they're really good. I really do. Every now and then we have a bad day, but I think for the most part, they're pretty darn good. Anyway, let's get to the docket today. First, Barry Morphew made his first appearance in Canyon City, which is in Fremont County. For somebody that lives in Colorado the entire time, I know it's pronounced Fremont, unlike Chaffee or Chaffee County, depending on who you talk to, even though I've lived here all my life. Anyway, the new judge, granted Barry's change of venue last week in regards to the defense request, basically saying that he would not get a fair trial up there in Chaffee or Chaffee County. So all of the upcoming hearings and the trial will be held in Canyon City. For those of you who aren't familiar with Canyon City, it's basically if you were to leave Denver, head south, drive about an hour and a half, and then you take a right. Then you drive for maybe another 30 to 45 minutes. There's Canyon City. You got the Royal Gorge. They got some railroad thing down there, and they have lots of prisons, lots and lots of prisons, both state and federal. That's where ADX is, right? Where we keep I think the Unabomber, they just moved out of there, but old El Chapo and all the other terrorists, they're all down there. Obviously, they're not going to be in the jury pool, and the correctional officers aren't going to be in the jury pool because, well, they're excluded from the potential jury panel. However, their family members are available, and everybody, obviously, that lives in the town and the county as well. We'll see if they can get a fair trial down here. As you may know, the defense wanted it moved out of the entire judicial district. So basically, that would have meant that the Supreme Court would have had to designate a new location. But if it's a change of venue is granted, the court has the discretion to keep it in the same judicial district. And in this particular case, that district has 3 counties in it from which to choose from. Now, what took place in the hearing today? Well, let's talk about that. A couple of things. Well, first, guess what? We've talked about this many, many times over the years. 404B evidence. For those who are not familiar with it, that is evidence that is being offered for some other purpose other than to show somebody has simply bad character, to show absence of mistake, motive, modus operandi, something along those lines. Well, the district attorney took nearly an hour outlining multiple alleged acts of 404B evidence, which basically amount to what they believe to be domestic violence violations as it relates against Suzanne Morphew. And guess what? The court said no, not coming in. They couldn't even meet their burden, which is only a preponderance of the evidence, right? You know how it works. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The standard is way up here, right? Because that's criminal case. It's so high it's off the screen. And then you got preponderance of the evidence. Simply more likely than not that the event occurred. The court said the prosecution didn't even meet that standard. Basically said it's really speculation, hearsay, and not permitted at the trial for Barry Morphew. So, what does that mean? It means that Barry Morphew continues to win. One of the problems with the prosecutor's evidence is that they could not provide any specific times or dates where these alleged occurrences took place, saying only that they believe that they happened in the time since the Morphews arrived in Colorado sometime after 2010. That's right. The judge has a duty to make sure, obviously, the defendant gets a fair trial. But how do you defend against something, say, oh, over the last 12 years, something really bad happened. We're not really sure when, where, exactly what you did, but we know it was really bad. Yeah, that's not fair. So, I'm not an I told you so, but in this particular case, I told you that I thought this case was weak. It is only getting weaker by the day. Every time the prosecution has stepped into court, they have got admonished. They have been told to produce more documents that are in discovery that haven't been turned over just yet. And now their 404B evidence is not coming in. Maybe that prosecutor that left saw something on the wall before he left, and he bailed as quickly as he could. Obviously, everyone's given the presumption of innocence, and we'll see if the prosecution can pull it off, but it's certainly looking like it's getting tougher and tougher for the prosecution to win this one. Next on the docket, the Delphi murders. Are the police getting close to solving the Delphi murders? Someone in charge thinks so. As you may recall, Abby Williams and Libby German were murdered almost 5 years ago in Delphi, Indiana, and the case is still open. Now, the Indiana State Police Superintendent, Doug Carter, went on Good Morning America this morning and said that he thinks that the case could be solved while he is still serving as superintendent. Now, as a reminder, Abby and Libby were hiking around an abandoned bridge in Delphi, Indiana on February 13th of 2017. The girls took photos, and the case was nicknamed the Snapchat Murders after Abby posted a photo of Libby around 2:17 p.m. on social media. Police found the girls' bodies a short distance from the bridge the next day. Detectives said that after the photo was taken, a man approached the girls and told them to go down the hill. One of the girls started recording the man's voice on her phone and also managed to take a photo of the suspect. The picture is not very clear, but it was enough evidence for authorities to get a general idea of who they are looking for. The superintendent, Mr. Carter, said it is his resolve to catch him now is as strong as the day one in this investigation. But the difference between now and day one is that we know about you, referring to the suspect, a lot about you. Today could be the day. Now, recently, a man named Keegan Klein, who went by the screen name Anthony Schatz, was arrested on charges regarding this stuff, bad stuff, and was a person of interest in the Delphi murders. Now, although Klein remains behind bars today, he has not been named or charged as a suspect in connection with the murders. Now, you have to wonder, first, do the police have a suspect and maybe they're watching somebody and thinking that, well, maybe they think they're going to be arrested soon, that maybe they're going to do something that would evince some sort of evidence of guilt, i.e. move, get up and leave town really fast. Who knows? Lots of things. Trying to see if somebody reacts to this news. Or it could just be they hope that they're getting close. You just never know. I think there's something big going on, and I'm telling you, I don't know anything. I don't have any inside track. But for somebody from the police to come out and say something, I think they're trying to flush somebody out to see if they're going to act a particular way. Hopefully, somebody will be charged so that the family can receive closure and justice that those two young girls deserve. All right, next on the docket. What do you do with a guy like this? So this guy was interviewed, and he is a self-proclaimed old school junkie. His words, not mine. And he moved from Texas to San Francisco because to be homeless there, he claims he's being paid by the city $620 cash per month and hundreds of dollars in food stamps. Now, the homeless man, who's also known by his first name, James, said, "This right now is literally by choice. If we're going to be realistic, they pay you to be homeless here." Now, James also said he sells Narcan to addicts nearby and watches Amazon Prime and Netflix on his phone. James said it only took one phone call to receive government assistance, including hundreds in cash and food stamps worth approximately $100, and notes that the free money is motivation to remain homeless. He tells the interviewer that he would never pay rent if he had the option to just receive cash and not do shit while spending days watching TV on his phone. James said the drug crisis in San Francisco has become incredibly disgusting, with dealers providing impure substances to users who then overdose because they take the drugs alone. He also blamed the cops for failing to arrest foreign-born dealers, alleging the police are getting paid with fentanyl. James said he's asking police why they don't arrest drug dealers standing right in front of them, and the cops would reply, arrest them for what? Now, San Francisco is a sanctuary city. Apparently, according to James, they arrest Hondurans, and we put them in jail, and they're out in 2 days. Can you imagine a drug dealer offended by who is not getting arrested? A drug user? That's crazy. Now, the new linkage center aimed at connecting homeless street addicts with drug rehab facilities opened in San Francisco last month, but distressing images show an open-air illicit drug consumption site that is now littered with needles and crowded with addicts shooting up in broad daylight. Now, James said he saved dozens of people's lives with the Narcan he has on him, but that he also has young teenagers approach him asking where they could find oxycodone. Now, he said he would teach younger people how to administer Narcan in case they overdosed on fentanyl, thinking it was oxycodone. James is quite the good Samaritan, isn't he? James also explained how the police are no longer acting as authority figures, but have instead become more like neighbors. There are an estimated 30,000 people homeless in the 5-county Bay Area, which are comprised in the East Bay, North Bay, South Bay, Peninsula, and the city of San Francisco regions. The mayor of Richmond, located in East Bay County of Contra Costa, about 20 miles from downtown San Francisco, has set up a program to match homeless people with local landlords who have empty apartments, funded by private donations. It will pay the landlords a year rent up front to encourage them to forego the usual credit, employment, and background checks of the tenants. And as we've probably heard, President Biden Health and Human Services Department is finalizing funding to hand out crack pipes to drug addicts as part of its harm reduction plan. The $30 million grant program intends to provide funds to nonprofits and local governments to make drug use safer, to advance racial equality. There were an estimated 100,000 drug overdoses deaths in the 12-month period ending in April 2021, according to the CDC, a 28.5% increase just from the year prior. Now, 3/4 of those deaths involved opioids, many of them being synthetic opioids such as fentanyl and other forms of methamphetamine. What do I say, ladies and gentlemen? You get more of what you tolerate. But when you're paying people to engage in particular conduct, do you think you're going to get more of it? It's simple. If you want more of something, you subsidize it. So if you want drug users being homeless, using drugs in open, you're going to encourage that behavior. If you're going to discourage that behavior, you tax it. You put a punishment on it. But apparently we have none of that. And you know things are bad when the drug users are upset that the police aren't prosecuting drug dealers because they're out there selling their bunk. You can't make this stuff up. Hey, how about some more New York City news for a little bit of good tiding today? A career criminal was just arrested again in New York City for sucker punching a 55-year-old sanitation worker while he was collecting trash in Manhattan. Christian Hall, who's 30, had his previous charges downgraded by the newly elected district attorney Alvin Bragg, and now police are holding him accountable for the assault. Hall was arrested at the scene and is in custody awaiting arraignment. He was charged with second-degree assault, a felony under provisions of state law that enhances the penalty for attacking certain public employees, as well as menacing and harassment. Police are saying District Attorney Bragg's office intentionally omitted all the facts from the court documents for a previous violent theft at a TJ Maxx in Chelsea in January, with an assault and robbery recidivist who ended up with a mere shoplifting charge. Bragg's office is accused of meddling in the 30-year-old's court paperwork, and it's unclear why the DA's office downgraded the charges. Hall has been arrested not once, not twice, not 3 times. Oh no, 21 times. He has 9 open cases, including a robbery with a deadly weapon. And a Manhattan police officer commented on the incident, saying, "You have a city worker in uniform doing his job, providing a service to the community, and he's attacked by a man that should be in jail." DA brags, well, this is on him. He should own this attack. In other good news, in New York City, a woman was taking the subway into Manhattan in broad daylight when she was attacked by a man and nearly... That's right, and we're not talking taped, but it rhymes with it. And the 21-year-old woman was attacked at the Canal Street station in Lower Manhattan. The suspect slid his hands in the woman's pants and then groped her. The woman tried to flee, but then the suspect then grabbed her by the arm and threw her into the corner of the train car. The woman, who is still unidentified for obvious reasons, was able to fend off her attacker and fled to another train. Meanwhile, the news of Wednesday morning attempted rhymes with tape comes just hours after another woman was robbed at knife point as she waited for the train at an uptown Manhattan subway stop during rush hour on Thursday. These events, in addition to other incidents, have caused Mayor Eric Adams to declare he doesn't feel safe in the city's transit system. Well, if the mayor can't feel safe in the system, how is anyone else supposed to feel safe, ladies and gentlemen? Good luck, Mr. Adams. You couldn't do any worse than your predecessor, so anywhere is an improvement. Anything you do is an improvement. All right, Joshua Langford. I'm sure everyone would want their daughter to date this guy. Now, Joshua Langford, a.k.a. 2020, a.k.a. Light Bright, a.k.a. Yellow of Manchester, Maryland, pled guilty today to kidnapping in relation to a sex trafficking conspiracy. Langford led and organized a conspiracy to commit sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and to commit kidnapping. The evidence indicated that Mr. Langford recruited the victims, who are usually young adult women, to engage in prostitution under fraudulent pretenses. According to the guilty plea, Langford knew that the victim was addicted to heroin and withheld drugs from her when she did not make enough money for him. When the victim attempted to escape, Langford and his 3 co-defendants drove the victim to a rural road where they beat, whipped, and choked her with a belt, and then drove her to a hotel in Delaware to engage in prostitution. All of Langford's co-defendants have already pled guilty. Langford was arrested 2 days later and informed officers that he deleted the contents of his cell phone in anticipation of his apprehension. I wonder what was going to be found there. While incarcerated, Mr. Langford told a co-conspirator that he intended to kill the victim to prevent her from testifying against him at trial. Yes, the old no face, no case. Yes, not a good thing. Now, if the court ultimately accepts the plea agreement, Langford would be sentenced to 17 years in federal prison. The court will decide after reading the pre-sentence investigation report whether they're going to accept the disposition. Parents of the year, more contestants. Tracy and Timothy Ferder were arrested for allegedly locking up their 14-year-old adopted son in a structure in the garage where they monitored him with a video camera and made him use a bucket as a toilet. Now, the parents are charged with aggravated child abuse and false imprisonment. The Jupiter Police Department in Florida announced yesterday. Police first visited the residence in January when the boy was reported as a runaway. Tracy let the detective inside the home, and the detective found an 8-by-8-foot structure in the garage. Tracy said the structure was used for an office and for storage. The detectives were skeptical due to the doorknob and deadbolt on the structure that locked from the outside. Good hint there, ladies and gentlemen, right? If you're going to lock somebody in, make sure it's only locks from the outside. The boy was located at the school the following day and questioned by the detectives. The boy told detectives he did not want to return to his family, pleaded to be arrested, and stated he would rather be in prison than to go back home. The boy said sometimes he was locked into structure for 14 to 16 hours at a time. Police determined that he has been abused and forced to live in the structure going back to 2017. The couple had 3 children living in the home. They have been removed by the Florida Department of Children and Families, according to the police. The Ferders appeared in courts yesterday, and they were ordered to be held on a $50,000 bond and obviously have no contact with the children. They should not be anywhere around children. Jeez, are you kidding me? Now, who knows? We'll give them the presumption of innocence. But when you're locking your kid in the garage and he can't get out, that's not good. All right, well, it's been a pretty dark day today. How about some good news? How about a dumb criminal contestant? Meet Eugene Bingham, 59. He was apparently severely intoxicated, yelling at police, claiming he was Mick Jagger at a restaurant in Naples, Florida. Now, Bingham yelled at restaurant patrons and even got up on the stage while a band was playing. Now, Bingham was located in a nearby park where he was so drunk he fell to the ground while trying to threaten a Naples police officer. Bingham topped off the night by vomiting in the back of the police cruiser. Now, Bingham has been charged with battery on law enforcement officers, a felony, and disorderly conduct, which is a misdemeanor. See, there's still some funny things that happen in the world related to the area of criminal law, ladies and gentlemen. At least nobody was seriously injured. And Mr. Bingham, 59, grow up. Enough already. Jeez. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Maybe a little hard after all that news, but we'll see you next time on Crime Talk.